Howdy neighbor, this is my first live stream, so it seems awkward or cringy. Forgive me, I'm learning. What I plan on doing with this live stream is to grow my indie game business, Seeking Liberty Studios. I hope to go forward to eventually grow to where I have enough of an audience and supporters to do it full time. But right now I have to set things up for a part-time pattern. But that's okay. I think with live streams, what I'm going to do is just make fun little games on the side. And once I get my core game ready for whatever that may be, I do have an idea already, but whatever that may be, I'll display it and start bringing it to the fold. But for now, live streams and simple videos. So, let's see here. Today, I was hoping to do more on the fun side with Godot game engine and remake one of my older games. I made way back in college. Way back. That's not that far back. About 10 years ago. And see where it goes. I will say some of my strengths rely more on the code side. So you'll see me use like MS Paint for my art. But you know what? It's okay. I'm just here to have fun. Alright, so let's get to it. I'm going to go ahead and pull up a slide, Google Slides, to start my Cooking Day Bible. New. All right. Let's see here. Actually, I think it'd be better to use a WordPad for this. Give me 1 second. Yeah. Go old school me. Old school here. Alright, so the game I was thinking about making today was like a kind of like a fighting game, but between cats. You know, cat fighting. But, you know, not just like straight cat, but cats hanging off curtains. We'll call this cat curtains. Also, it's kind of be like a shoot 'em up. Except you don't shoot, you do melee. So, let's see here if we can find some old style karate games. I do have an older game I can show you. I'll bring that up here in a bit. Oops, let's bring that back over here. Yeah, something like this. This is a game I made back a long time with Unity, but I plan on remaking it in Godot today. And I might not even finish it because there's a lot still have to learn about Godot, but that's okay. I'm going to play on Linux for a few hours, and I'm going to pick it up again next stream. So all you do is you got a black cat here and a white cat. The idea is supposed to be 2-player, and you know, smack around. I don't know if you can see anything, but the spiders crawling up. You lose hearts. Not a bad game. It goes up to a certain many score points. So knock a cat off a curtain. Okay, so I'm going to just minimize this for now. And let's go ahead and open up Godot. And I'm going to go ahead and create a new project. Browse. Let's create a stream games. So current folder. Nope, I want to create a KCAT curtains. Folder, create and edit. There we go. Okay, so I was debating between like a 2D or 3D, but I think I'm gonna go 2D for this route. All right. All right. So now, I'm not too familiar. I played around with Godot in 3D, but I have not played around with Godot in 2D too much. So forgive me. I have to look up some documentation while I'm doing this. I'm using Godot 4.3. Might be a good idea just to go ahead and use the Godot assets on the tutorial to get started. Yeah, I'll do that. So I'm just going to Godot docs for the game engine. This is 4.2. See here, yeah. And I'm gonna follow these steps for. Excuse me. Setting up these for the tutorial and code wise that way, because I have years of experience developing already. Art a little weak side, but not a big deal there. All right. See here. Alright, it's called Dodge the Creeps. Kira must move and avoid enemies for as long as possible, which that's half my game already. I had the cats moving around, and the spiders were those green things coming up. They were spiders, and so you had to dodge those, or else they'll hurt you. So I think that's a good start there. So, all right, so all right, I got the enemies in there. Great. Now, set up the project. Already did that. Not worried about that. All right. So this is here in setting up the project portion. If you read through towards the bottom. So in the short first part, organize project, launch Godot, select new project. Got that. Downloads the arts and fonts. Got that already. Alright, the game is designed for portrait mode. Not worried about the portrait mode because I'm not doing a phone type game. Viewport width, which, see here, if we go to project settings, project settings, and go down to display, window, viewport, you can change it here to change the resolution, which is great. I'm not going to worry about that right now. Window stretch mode is canvas and keep, which we're going to keep that because that way if I change sizes, not a big deal. Alright, because it says here under stretch options, set the mode to canvas items and aspect to keep. This ensures that the game scales consistently on different sized screens. Great. Alright. I just dropped the whole folder in there, not a big deal. Organize the project. We'll make 3 independent scenes, player, mob, and HUD, which will combine into the game's main scene. Okay, in a larger project, it might be useful to create folders. Okay, not a big deal. Go ahead and close this out. And create new scenes. Okay. Alright, let's create a player scene. This will create a player object. So I'm going to go ahead and create a folder here and call it prefabs, because now we're making actual nodes. I should say I'm from a Unity environment, so I'm used to the word prefabs, but that's okay. Alright, prefab nodes. Alright, so the first scene we'll define as player object. So we'll create a new node, new scene. Use other node. We want to use the first scene defined as player. Define if it's a separating the player to scene. You can test separately. Even before we created the parts, yada yada yada. Node structure. Alright, we're going to add an area 2D according to this tutorial. Okay. Cool. Alright. Godot will display a warning icon next to scene. Okay, we're ignoring that for now. The Area 2D can detect objects for that overlap into the player. Change the name to player. Yep. Alright, so let's see here what is going on with this. Monitorable. Interesting. Wonder why they have it set up like that. First scene. So they got an Area 2D. Okay. I find that interesting that you use an area to define the node, but that's fine. Since the player is going to be moving around. Before we can add any children to the player node, we want to make sure we don't accidentally move or resize them by clicking them. Select the node and icon in the right hand corner and tooltip and make the selected node's children not selectable. That one. What does this do? Ungroup. Oh, okay. So I guess it locks it in place, keeps it from moving around. Alright, so now we want to save this scene. Okay, go to the player node. Okay, we're going to add a child node. We want to do the animated sprite 2D. So it says here the animated sprite 2D will handle appearance animations for our player. Notice that there is a warning symbol next to the node. The animated sprite 2D requires sprite frames resource. What is a sprite frame? A sprite frame library for sprite frame library contains frames and animation for playback. Okay. Okay, so this list of animations could display. To create one, find the sprite frames property under animation. Where is... I don't see... I don't know. I don't see the sprite frames property. Excuse me. Chrysler Fresh Reinforce, which is a list of. Oh, there we go. I was thinking it's animation tab. Forgive me. It's this up here. When I was thinking tabs, I was thinking left to right type tabs. That is this animation tab for the sprite frames. All right, and I'm going to select new sprite frames, which is fine. And click again to open sprite frames panel. All right, so. All right. Alright, oh, okay. It opens the sprite frame panels here. Wonderful. Okay, so yeah. Let's see where I'm at in the steps. If I've gone a little too fast, just let me know in the comments. For new people or for seasoned veteran game devs. Let me know in the comments if you think what can I improve upon. Like I said, I'm starting out new. I can handle it. Okay, on the left is a list of animations. All right. Click the default, rename it to walk. Okay. All right, so. All right. Then click the Add Animation button to create a second. Where's the Add Animation button? Alright, so then click the Add Animation. So I'm guessing it's that one. Okay. Add Animation and named it up. Fine. Okay, find the player images and the file system tab. Okay. Okay. Drag the two images named player gray. Walk 1 and 2 and interesting. Okay, looks like we're going to do some inverting here later. That's cool. All right. Play images are a bit too large for the game window, so we need to scale them down. Click on the Animated Sprite 2D. All right, and set the scale property. I'm guessing you mean this one. To 0.5. All right. Cool. You can find an inspector under the 2D node heading. Here. Okay, nice. Finally, you can add a collision shape 2D as a child. This will determine the player's hitbox. So this is an area. Okay. Okay, so we're going to add collision. Oops. Yeah, finally add a collision shape 2D for player. Determine the player's hitbox in the bounds of collision area. Makes sense. Capsule shape node 2D gives the best fit. So the next to shape in the inspector, click empty. Oh wait, we'll do a capsule. Okay. New capsule. Cool. I can tell you about that. That's just too small. There we go. There we go. A little wider there. There we go. Once you're finished, your player scene will look like this. Okay, let's go ahead and play that. Save that. We're going to add a script to the player node and move it and animate it. This will next. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and add a script to this. One second, let's go ahead and make a script folder. New folder, scripts. Okay. All right. All right. I'm fine with that name, player.gd. Just to let you know, you can use class name to help define your script names. That way it's easy to find them. It helps for Python. I think this is Python. This is not too familiar, but I think GD script is pretty much just like Python. This adds a hard script that makes things a little faster. So casting and stuff like that's a little easier to know what's going on. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to need some variables. I'm going to add export. What the export does, it adds the ability to see whatever variable you have here. This is export. That displays it over here in its own tab. So I'm going to call this, I'll have it right here. Speed is 400. Okay. Great. Then we also need, of course, size. Okay. Size of the game window. Okay, we may not need this one, so may not be needed. Alright, using the export keyword variable. Default to 400 allows us to set the value in the inspector. Great. If you're using C#, you'll need to rebuild the project. Oh, I'm not using C#, and if I do end up using the modules, I'm going to do C++, but for now, I'm going to stick with this. All right. All right. Ready. Okay. They may use the screen size for spawning purposes, but that's fine. Viewport rect dot size. Those are great. Don't need that anymore. Now we can process this function to define whatever we'll do. Let's see here. Alright, so we're going to process function, we're about to put some input in. So let's go ahead and set up our input. So we go to project, project settings, input map. Okay. So we got some built-in actions here. We got UI left, UI right, up, down, but we don't want that. We want move right, move left, move up, move down. All right. And we want D, wonderful, A, wonderful. W, wonderful, and for down, S. Okay, cool. Okay. All right, closed. All right, for velocity dot 0, probably better to spell the whole thing out, I guess. All right. Dot get No, we don't want access. I think this will work. I'll double check that for a second. D down and up. Oops. Y left and right. All right, so cool. So let's see what this. Look up simple. Specifying two actions, one positive, one negative for this shorthand. Okay. Okay, so it just says if it's left, so if this one, if it's pressed, it'll be negative. If this was pressed, it'll be positive. I can work with that. Okay. If velocity dot length is greater than 0, great. We want to normalize dot. Oh, wait. Cool. All right. Now they have currently they have this image sprite 2D dot play. I don't know how I feel about that. I'd ever like the idea of relying on names. I've always liked the idea of putting a variable somewhere specific. But since this is the top level player and it's only going to be in the children, it's okay. And just me personally, I'm not a big fan of it, but that's okay for now. But then this is Godot. I don't know what's the best practices, but I think for now it'll be fine. So it looks like they may be setting up a animation tool here later. Okay. They got this in the process function. I don't know why I don't have this in the physics function. I'm going to go ahead and do that. See if I can get the... let's do that. Because physics framed is called at certain steps, at certain rates. It keeps the physics better. It's made for physics. Keep things more in step. I don't like just willy-nilly. Oops. There we go. Yes. Okay. All right. Moving the velocity right down, resulting in this case. One second, let me read this real quick. Oh, yeah. Common practice, but you would want to normalize this vector because if you have a 1 and a 0, so that means you're going left or right. That means you're going to the left or right at the pace of 1. But if you got a 1 and a 1, that means you're going that direction. So this point here, so it's 1 and 1. So that length right there is a hypotenuse length. So it's the longer than the two sides would be. And that's faster. So it would be a squared plus b squared. So 1 squared plus 1 squared, which is 2. Then it would be faster than just 1. That's twice the speed. So if you had a 2 by 1, so it would be a squared plus b squared, so it would be 4 and 1, that would be 5. And you see the issue there, how it grows out of hand? Yeah, I'm not going to harp on that too much. All right, let's see here. Whoa. Hey there, Carterham fam. I think I know that name. How y'all doing today? All right. Glad to hear it. Is it cold up there? Anywho. Good. I'm a little jealous. Is your eldest watching, or any of your I'm not sure what part of your family's watching right now, and I don't want to say it out loud. Don't miss the heat either. Okay. All right, I want to get back to it. I am live streaming, so I don't want to call you out too much. Hey. Family chat. All right, so let's see here. What else was I doing? Oh yeah, I was following this tutorial. All right, so thanks for both of y'all saying that, by the way. 'Cause I didn't know my chat was working or not. Yeah. Okay, so behind this dollar sign, before I forget, is to get the node. It says it here in the documentation, the tutorial documentation Godot has. The shorthand for, hey, go get this node, which is fine. I'm not a big fan of this format because that requires you to have specific names across the board, and that always kind of bothered me. Um, Same reason I'm not a big fan of these. String wise, uh, one type on a string. Now it doesn't have a lot of IntelliSense here built into it. Like it will say, "Hey, this is a string you have set up," which I think is great. They built their IntelliSense out really well. But I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of using strings. But it's not a bash against Godot. It's just a personal preference. Let's see here. All right. Now we have a move a direction. We can update the player's position. We can use clamp to prevent it from leaving the screen. Okay, so that's what the screens was for. Okay. All right, so now we go here. Go to position. Goes velocity times delta, which is great, and then position equals dot clamp this is interesting. I like the fact that they added in the clamp function into Vector 2 itself, which is great. In other words, 400 by 400. Something to keep in mind. So we want the viewport to be equal sizes, or we have to create a new viewport to handle that. So what else we got here? Dot. Oh, just size. Okay. Okay, that's fine. If it causes me a problem, I'll fix it afterwards. Do 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 do. Well, it sounds like they're going to be using this velocity thing a lot, so I'm going to go ahead and bring it back in. Process. And I'm going to go ahead and create a var velocity vector 2. It goes vector 2 dot 0. That way I can use it across the board, but I still want to keep setting it to 0 every frame and let it calculate its own speed because it's dependent on the user input and make it snappy. Well, I wonder when they set it back down to 0. Hold on a second. Yeah, they'll make it snappy because plus equals we'll worry about that one in a second. Makes me wonder how it's going to slow down. I'll worry about that in a minute, because right now, I think, logically, when I look at this, I go, okay, set the velocity to 0, great. Current position, oh, this is not a continual speed, this is just position, this is not continually moving, that's why. Okay, so it doesn't need to slow down. Got it, okay. Got confused. Correlating between a rigid body and just absolute position is two different things. Got it confused in my head. We're good now. What was I doing? Alright, screen size, delta parameter to process, which is great. So you confirm you can move the player around in all directions. Okay, so this is just to confirm that I can do the current scene. Uh-oh, I got it backwards. When I push up, down, I get it backwards. Okay, cool. Well, it's up in the right direction, so let's go ahead and just revert these. Now let's try it. Well, I moved the wrong one around. Should mess with that. There we go. So, screen size, lookup symbol, is a vector too. Okay, good to know. Good to know. All right. Makes sense why you would use clamp now. That makes sense. All right, moving forward. Errors. Oh, we'll get to that in a second. All right, choosing animations. Now we can put this one into the if velocity dot x. I'm going to set up we're currently setting up the walk cycle. Dot animation equals walk. What am I doing? That's silly of me. Why am I doing that? All right, and okay, so this is to flip left and right. So what they're going to try to do is say, hey, we're flipping left and right. Great. Since we're not moving left and right, we don't need to flip sorry, excuse me, let me try that again. Since we're moving left and right, we're going to see if we need to flip the character. So let me do this again. Flip horizontally if velocities dot x is less than 0. Okay, cool. And now, if the velocity of y is not equal 0, so x will be priority here. I'm going to pretty much do the same thing. And instead of walk, it's just going to be up, and this is going to be Alright, so left and right's correct, but my ups and my downs is a little off. So there we go. Yeah, we'll try that again. Now, since I'm going to be putting a cat in here, probably won't be doing the flip, but I'm going to worry about that in a bit. I'm going to just do the left and right, and then when I finally get the cat in, I'll flip that around. But for now, I think that is good. So I'm going to go ahead and finish out the tutorial and then see if I can add in the sprites afterwards. And then maybe next stream I'll see if I can add in some sounds and stuff like that. I don't know how that works on YouTube streaming. I know how to stream in my desktop to there, but I'm not sure how copyright works. So I gotta be careful with that one. All right, next. Actually, I'm going to make this a little faster. So, for probably the new people, let's see if we can get some inline booleans in place. So we got this here. Does Godot have this? True. False. Does it have inline? Nope. Doesn't have it. That's okay. Not worried about it. GD inline. See if I can see if there's any inline functionality to it. I know C# you have inline functionality in C++ and C. Lambdas? See if we can find inline lambdas for Godot GD script. Func filter. Add a lambda function in GD scripts. Nah, not gonna worry about it. Good enough for now. Because I'm gonna revisit this when I get the cat stuff in. I might have to revisit it when I do multiplayer, but we'll find out about that later. That's if I get to multiplayer. It might not. Alright, continuing the tutorial. Play the scene again. When you're sure about the movement is correct, add the hide. For some reason, the tutorial wants me to hide it. Okay, when you're sure about the movement is working correctly, cool. So the player will be hidden when the game starts. Hide it. Alright, so let's hide it. Okay. Okay, we want the player to detect it's hit by an enemy, but we haven't made any enemies yet. That's okay. All right. That's from the website. I'm down into preparing collisions. See here, I'm currently at the tutorial. I'm going to be preparing for collisions. All right. Well, now we're getting into something called Godot signals, which I think is perfectly okay. I've heard them explained online different ways, which confusing, but I finally boiled it down to. I'll get to it here in a second, but I finally boiled it down to something a little bit more simpler for how I can understand it. But it just sounds in C# terms like something called a delegate. Um, all right. Add the following at the top of the script. Okay. All right, so after it extends it, we add a signal called hit. Okay. Okay, so we have a signal, and when our player gets hit, we want this to say, hey, emit. And so usually there's functions stored inside that. Some other objects functions, some other like enemies functions will happen is they have a function themselves they have stored inside that. So I'm going to go up here to node. Okay. And on-bodied entered. This defines a custom signal called hit that will have our player emit send out when it collides with the enemy. We'll use the Area2D to detect the collision, which we have. That's what this whole player is, the Area2D. Select the player node, click the node tab, which is on the right hand corner next to the inspector tab, and then we have a sub tab called signals. We select that, and then we want to click the node tab. Okay, got that. We have the select the bodied entered. Notice our hit signal is there as well. Since our enemies are going to be rigid 2 bodies, we want the bodied entered to the no signal. Okay. We want to connect. So we got a different signal going on. I think I'm not sure how it connects, but let me walk through these steps and see if I can relay back to what's going on. Godot will create a function that will connect this will be emitted by the body context. Click connect, and connect a signal window appears. Godot will create a function with that exact name directly in the script for you. You don't need to change the default settings right now. Okay. And I should probably start saying more. Always look up your documentation. It will always be the guy that has the answers, your documentation. And if it doesn't have the answers, Reddit or Stack Overflow, probably Stack Overflow, not Reddit. I don't know what you'll get out of Reddit. I don't know why I said that, but Stack Overflow is your next best friend. And if that's not it, well, don't know what to tell you. Anyways, but I'll try to do my best to help you out. I don't know what project you work on or things like that, and I don't know what kind of code problems you have, so I don't know if you want to put it out there like that. But you gotta put it out there eventually to get your answer. Okay. All right, so we're going to connect to the on-bodied entered. So, all right, so we got two separate signals here. We got the bodied entered signal we're connecting to ourselves. We're saying, hey, Node2D, which is its own class for connection. We're going to put in this script and say, hey, on-bodied entered, run this function. So what we're doing is we're adding our own function called on-bodied entered here. It's going to be stored inside the signal bodied entered. So think of it as a box. Then we give it we got this box and we give it a phone number and say, hey, when this thing happens, call these phone numbers. And I'll show you what I'm talking about in a second. Boop. Okay. So now we see up here, we have this box, a signal called bodied entered. So this signal, when it says, hey, I get entered, it emits the signal. So in other words, I'm going to call all those functions that are connected to that. Which is nice. So the green icon indicating that a signal is connected to this function does not mean the function exists. So the phone number is there, but that doesn't mean someone will pick up the phone when it calls it. So, and that's not even the right answer. Like when it attempts to call it, it will say, hey, I'm going to look for that phone number. It's going to press it in and say, and it'll get a beep back, an operator saying not there, or it's going to go, oh, there it is. And that object will pick up the line. Yeah. So interesting. Okay. So when the thing gets hit, we're going to hide it again. Interesting. Hit. All right. So now we have a signal within a signal. Let me close this up here. We have our own telephone number. And since our own telephone number here has we have our own box of numbers or things we need to call out. If someone's on the other end, that radio signal, I see why they call it a radio signal when you listen to tutorials, because this right here means, hey, they're in tune to it, they're listening for it. If they're not listening for it, they're not going to pick it up. I see why that. No, it just hit me why I did that. All right. Let's see here. And collision shape 2D. So we're going to call the collision shape 2D. And set underscore deferred. And disabled true. Interesting. So I'm going to look up symbol. Set deferred assigns value to given property. Okay, at the end of the current frame, which is cool. The equivalent is calling set through call deferred. All right, so it sets a value at the end of the current frame. So that way, I think it finishes whatever else is doing, and then it does it. That's fine. I'm okay with that. but it's this particular node, not the entire thing. This node, the collision shape, it enables it or disables it. Because we look at the inspector, we have a value called disabled. Property disable. So, yep, lowercase. I don't know why. You gotta be careful with that with Godot, because the Godot editor itself will show capitalized words, but the actual value name is different, because you can see they have one-way collision, but it has underscores underneath it, so make sure you double check that stuff. Yep. 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 Okay. All right. What else is there? Moving forward, deferred. Alright, the last piece is to add a function we can call to reset the player. Okay, so I'm going to not call this start, I'm going to call set player. Position equals POS, well, they pass in the value, which is fine. Show, and turn the collision back on. Dot equals. Okay, so turn the collision shape. The collision area 2D is still has its own monitoring system, but the actual shape itself is on or off, which is fine. Oh, forgot my colon. Cool. Let's see here. So right here, like the collision's still on. I think that's interesting. But we don't set it false again. So I'm going to make another function to help with that, because I don't like that. So I'm going to go here and say disappear. And let's see here. Hide. There we go. How about it? Appearance. That's a better name. Appearance. That's how you spell it, right? Yeah, we'll go with that for now. Someone down the road is like, he doesn't know how to spell. Whoops. U.S. education system, man. All right. What else is there? That's right. If hide. All right. So we're going to say hide true. Else, because there's no else going on here. Show all right. Problem fixed. There we go. That's much better. Much cleaner. Alright. Alright. Now on to creating the enemy. So this scene is saved. We're going to create a new scene from create a new scene and top menu, add the following nodes. Okay, rigid body 2D. I'm going to name him Mob. I think Mob is okay. Because I had my cat game, Cat Curtains, I had the 2 cats that had little hearts on them, and then I had little green spiders coming up, and those were mobs. So I think that's fine. So we'll work with that out. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and add a child node. We're going to name Emit a Sprite. I'm going to add another child node. I'm going to add another child node. Interesting. Well, that's pretty neat. I like that. Godot has a really neat, I will say, from comparing myself from Unity to Godot, like I love Unity to death, but looking at Godot and their current features they already have just on hand, just amazing. Like even in 3D they have a version of it, but yeah, I love it. We want to make sure the children can't be selected. Fair point. 2D. Cool. This says in the node setup for the creating the enemy part of the documentation. Make sure you don't mess up and children, and make sure you add the grouping. I'm not sure if it's called grouping or not. It groups them together, so I'm going to call it the group button, so that way it selects the item as a whole, not just individual children. Okay, all right. Select the mob node. Select the mob node. So this is a rigid body. This is what I was thinking earlier. Which is fine. All right. Want to set the gravity scale to 0. Oh, not negative. 0. In addition, under the collision object 2D, just beneath the rigid 2 section, expand collision and uncheck the one inside the mask property. Uncheck. This will ensure the mobs do not collide with each other. Okay. Cool. Interesting. Alright, so we're going to set up we have 3 animations. We have fly, swim, and walk. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and go over to this one, the animations, New sprite frames. Guessing we want the walk for the same one here for default. Oh, we want to do a lowercase w. And we're going to do the interesting. Okay. Okay, interesting. Can't wait to turn these into spiders. And fly. So my question is, shouldn't these be... Alright, this time we have 3 animations. There are 2 images for each animation in the folder. Great, got it from the tutorial. Animation speed property has to be set for each individual animation. Adjusted for... Oh. Guess we want 3. Oops, don't want that. All right. Good night, Carnahan fam. Carnahan farm, excuse me. Good night, guys. Okay. So we're going to scale these down to 0.75. Transform. There we go. Bigger than a player mob, but that's okay. As a player scene, caps collision. So we're going to add some collision to these guys. Interesting. Is there a way to rotate this portion of it? There we go. Rotated it. Perfect. Yep. Cool. So I had to rotate that because the mob was sideways. Not a big deal. What am I missing here? Okay, sizes in the Ridge 2 body. What fixes is when running. Change the size and children collision shapes instead. Okay, like images, the mob images need to be scaled down. Set the... Oh, I changed it here. I need to change it in the... I need to go to here and do it. Well, that's annoying, but that's okay. There we go. Alright, now we're going to add a rigid body to... Sorry, I'm not going to add a rigid body. We're going to add a GD script to the rigid body. So select the mob, at this little icon up top and see here. We're going to go to the scripts. There we go. And create. And we're going to make sure the class name is on there. Mob. Great. Alright, now let's look at the rest of the scripts. And ready, we play animation and randomly choose one of these 3 animations. Okie dokie. I'm pretty sure I'll be changing this later, but for now, you know what, I'm just going to do it for practice. No, we don't want to do that. Var mob underscore types. Interesting that you use the animation itself to define the type of it. Frames, great, get sprite underscore frames dot get animation names. Actually, doesn't like it. Okay. I'm going to play a modulus all right, let's see here. That makes sense. Randy. Okay. Rady. No, I need Randy, not Rady. There we go. So random index or random integer. Great. And the modulus, which is when you divide, say, 16 by 4, you would be into it 4 times, but the decimal would be 0. Well, that 0 is the modulus for those people who don't know. Okay, so we'll have a function called on. We got to connect this sprite. Sorry, we can connect this mob to a signal called the visible on-screen notifier. See if we can find that real quick. Screen exited. I don't see that signal there. Am I missing something here? it doesn't list out the children node. That's fine. I don't need to know that all the way, but I need to do it on screen exited. I want this one to connect to this one's signal. Oops, I'll do this one. Visible screen, okay. Okay, so what's happening here is that we're going to tell the parent mob here, the parent rigid body, say, hey, I want you to go and tell this visible on screen enabler, that node, tell that node, I want you to check for my function or this name of the function. And that's this right here. So now when you look at his screen exit, it will check this node. And once it's connected now with its script, say, hey, go check for that function. And if it's there, call it. Doing that whole phone call out of the box thing again. I guess a better analogy would be, I put the phone number in the box. When it calls that number, and if the object's there, it goes, hey, do you have this person so-and-so there? And they go, no. And they hang up the phone. If they say yes, then they say, go tell them to do this. That's all they do. That, to me, that makes most sense in my head. Okay, cool. So we'll go ahead and we're gonna queue free. In other words, we're gonna, I think queue free deletes it, so pulls it off, which is fine with me. Cool. All right. Now we're getting to the main game scene. All right. Let's create a new game scene. New scene. And we're going to make this a simple node. Just a straight simple node. I'm going to call this the titular says main, but I'm just going to call this the, yeah, call it main. Let's stick with the tutorial. Instead of using the 2D node, it's because then this node will be a container handling game logic. Okay. It makes perfect sense because this has no transform to it. If you look at the inspector, it's just a blank node, which I think is great. I wish Unity had just empty objects that didn't need a transform. It was just an object. All right. All right. Do. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank stare. I'm thinking right now. Sorry for the silence. Alright. Alright, now I have an idea what's going on here. We want to click the instance button, represent a chain link below, select your save player. Cool. Oh, that's handy. This is why you do tutorials from the site. It shows you a bunch of neat little things. Okay, we're going to select the player and hit open. Ah, that's very nice. Okay. Now add the following nodes as the children of main. See, alright, follows the. See, if I want to know that, I would add those next. Anyways, alright, so we're going to add a timer named mob timer. So we're going to add a timer. Oh, look at that. Mob timer. Score timer and start timer. Okay. Cool. And a marker in start position. Cool. Okay, so we have here, oh look, a wait timer. Cool. So it says here we had to set it to 0.5. 1, great. 2. Don't know what that means, but cool. In addition, set the one-shot property of the start timer to on. So here, it's one shot. Okay. And we need to set the position to. Okay, so set the one-shot property and the start timer to on, and set the position of the start position to. Oh, I see why they set the spacing earlier now. 250. Let's see if I can get it here. Yeah. That's fine. Good enough for me. I don't care. I'll figure it out later. Squeaky chair. Alright, let's see here. Okay, spawning mobs. The main node will be spawning new mobs. We want them to appear at random locations on the edge. Add a path to D. Okay. Okay. Named mob path. On the main, when you select the path. Okay. Alright, select the middle one, add path and draw by clicking. Okay. I want to make sure we use the snap grid. Okay. Smart snap. We want to add. Okay, use these options. Actually, alright. Okay, after placing for click close curve. Okay, so you want to go click here, start here, move your way around, and close curve. That way, it will consider this the mob area. If you do it the other way, it would consider the outside the mob area. So I'm not sure why that is, but that's the way they set it up. Okay. Alright, after placing 4 nodes, click close curve. Your curve will be complete. Now the path, add a path follow 2D of mob path. Okay. Mob spawn location. Okay, this node will automatically rotate and follow the path as it moves. So we can use it to select random position and direction along the path. Your scene will look like, okay. This node will automatically rotate and follow the path as it moves. So we will use it and okay, so what does this path follow 2D? This node takes the parent's 2D, which is mob path, returns the coordinates of a point within a given distance from its vertex. It is useful for other nodes to follow a path without coding or movement pattern. For that, the nodes must be children of this node. Descendants of nodes will then move accordingly when setting the progress. Okay, that makes more sense now. So it's going to be on a timer. I see. That is handy. What if they got a... that is handy. So, from what I can tell, from what I read, like, just using the progress ratio here, halfway through, a little over halfway through, it is saying, hey, this is the point of the line it should be. That's actually handy. If you're looking at making like a time schedule for NPCs, this would be great. So daytime cycles, like, oh, at 8 p.m. he's supposed to be way over here, and you can have an array of mob paths. Say, hey, on Monday he needs this mob path or whatever. This is great, Godot. You're doing a great job. So let me see if they have a path. Yep, they do. They got a 3D path follow. Wonderful. This is great. I'm glad I'm doing this. And for people who are watching, thank you for bearing with me. And if you did see this during live, but you're watching this, now hopefully I get this edited soon. But leave a comment below. Tell me what I can do better. I know I need to quit saying that's for one thing for sure. And starting off new, it gets a little bleh. I could talk clearer and talk better, but I'm working on it. I'll improve. I got hope. The one thing I got is hope. So, all right. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. All right, so we're going to add a script to main. Wonderful. So select main, hit the little add script button up here. We're going to select the scripts folder. Script to main. This is going to be the main play loop. Yeah. That way, differentiate it, not just a scene. Okay. Okay, cool. All right. Let's see here. A lot to read going on here, so let me skim through this real quick. At the top of the script, use the export mob scene pack scene. Okay. Tell us to use mob scene. We want to instance. Okay, so we're going to create instances of a mob, which is great. Okay, so all right, so it sounds like we're going to start setting up the infrastructure for spawning mobs. Export var mob scene. Scene var score, which is fine. And I am going to go back through eventually and maybe not score. I don't know. We'll see, because I have to add a health system eventually, because I had little hearts that would tick down. So we'll see about that. Okay, score. A node you will see the mob scene or the inspector script variables. Go here. Yeah. Okay. We could drag it from the file system, but I'm just going to do that. There we go. Go ahead and save that. All right. Alright, so now we have the mob scene, the pack scene that we want to spawn. Great. Now you can assign this property value two ways. Click the property down arrow. Alright. I'm going to select the player. I'm going to go to the signals. And we're going to go to the node scene dock signals tab, and you should see a list of signals for a player node, and we're going to click hit. Cool. Alright, so now I think we're going to set up a hit function on the main script, main gameplay. So when the player gets hit, its signal is going to emit a function on the main gameplay script. Alright, and double click the signal. We want the new function game over. Alright. You should see a list of signals with the player node. Find, double click the hit. It's in the list. We want a new function named game over. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to go ahead and connect to that one. Alright, and I'm going to make a new function called game underscore over. And we're going to say score timer dot stop, which is great. I think I know what we have score timer. It's a survival game, so that's going to be our score. Map timer dot stop. We're going to also go ahead and say, hey, create the new game function here. Score equals 0. And player dot start. Start position. Did I make that function there for that player? Nope. I have a different function I call set player. Set player. Cool. And then start timer dot start. Cool. Cool. So I got player on player hit. Yeah, so you can when you connect you can go in here and type in game over function and hit connect, but I don't want that. I want a very specific function I know what's going on to connect to, and I'll just call that function in there. So that way I know it's like, oh look, we got a variable here, what's going on and why is it there. I probably should rename it. Yeah, let's name that a little bit better. I don't know what to call it though, because it's a signal, and if I read it correctly, it calls out, and if it's not there, I mean, it could be anything. Okay. Main call. There we go. There we go. There we go. That's better. There we go. That's a much more specific, because it's not like a generic anything. Get any function that has a player hit. It says, hey, the main call. So in other words, call from the main. There we go. I like that a lot better. Okay, cool. All right. Now we got to connect a signal of each timer nodes to the main script. Okay, so we're going to go to each of these and call out each of the main timers. Okay, mob timer connect. Go ahead, U2, connect, connect. Cool. So we got 3 mob timer calls, timers, and their callbacks, well, signals connected. Sorry, their functions connected to the signal. Man, I'm so used to C# and delegates, it's a little different. It's fine. All right, let's see here. Okay. Score timer. So simple enough. Hey, after where the timer runs out, get a point. Great. And the start timer, I'm guessing that just counts down. I'm just going to copy and paste that in there because it's super simple. All right. And start when the start timer ends, stop the mob timer and the score timer. Great, simple enough. All right. Now, let's see here. Okay, so the mob timer, put it here, var mob, oops, we're going to create new mobs. Mob scene dot instantiate. Great. All right, so we're going to create a mob underscore spawn underscore location equals the okay, so it gets this mob spawn location, which we've seen already, is that rectangle we drew around. And all right, let's see what else is there. Progress ratio goes a random float, which is fine. And the direction is plus pi divided by 2, which is weird. I don't know what that means. Pi divided by 2, 3.14 whatever, divided by 2. Okay. Mob point pose. Okay. All right, so we get the direction. I don't know why we're using pi. I guess he'll tell me in a minute, but I don't know what's so great about pi. I mean, besides it's being delicious. dot rotation equals direction. Okay. All right. Cool. Let's see here, direction. Okay. I don't know why it's doing, yeah, don't know what it's doing pi, but it's okay. We're going to now tell the velocity equals vector 2. Okay, well, they have a hard set to 150 and 250. Here, I double check my work. Yeah, I'm not sure what this does. Like, yeah, I know it gets the rotation of it. Let me look up symbol. Yeah. Yeah, it's just 3.1415, whatever. Interesting. Yeah. All right, moving on. So here, look up this rotation. Okay, moving on. Add child mob. Okay, so add child adds it. Godot works in trees of nodes, and so it needs to be added to a tree of nodes. So main. So add it to the main to be part of that tree, because if it's not part of a tree, it's not going to get processed. All right, let's go up here. Let's add the func underscore ready the game. Okay, let's see what happens. So we got a point here where we're starting a player out. Player.set player.start position. What did I mess up on that? Let's see here. Yeah, I didn't. There we go. That should do it. Interesting. Glad to see it. I think my player's still hidden though, which is fine. So we go here. Appearances. There we go. But yet. Maybe I should change that to show. Show. Yeah, because my terminology is messing things up here. Because I want the player to appearance. True. False. False. All right, let's try that again. Okay. Me, my silly logic. I need to put not show so it will show. There we go. Boop. Touch something and it made me disappear, which is good. That's what's supposed to happen. All right. All right. Cool. Cool. So that's a good test. I'm going to leave this right here. It says go ahead and remove it, but I'll just comment it out. Cool. I'm going to add some interface to it. Okay. I've been streaming for about 2 hours, so I'm going to take a short break, guys. I think we're at a good stopping point. We got the strange creeper mods swimming around randomly, and we got my player to spawn in and move around, and they do interact. All right, let's just double check to make sure. Oh no, I disabled it. So there we go. They do move around. Oh, here comes the creeper, and as soon as I touch one, boop, it disappears, which is good. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a quick break, and I'll be right back. Then we'll go over what I have done in the code, review it, make sure it looks clean and understandable. And then we'll go in and see what the next step. It looks like the next step in the tutorial is some UI work, which is good. I need some UI understanding myself. So, all right, guys, thank you. Hang tight. I'll be back in about 5 minutes. All right. let's do a quick review of what's currently been done. Let's see here. We made a player script. This cute little creeper thing, which we're going to turn into a cat later, but for this stream, we're just making creeper out of it. From the Godot documentation 4.2. Looking at, we currently have a place where we take in the input, and then we have a variable we create ourselves for velocity, because the Area 2D does not have a velocity. It's not a rigid body, but it does have hit detection. And then we normalize it so that way it's even in all directions. And times it by the speed to give it the speed. I made sure we do this in the physics function, so it's called at an even time. And then the velocity times the delta time, which gets the delta, in other words, gets the segment in that point of time. This is how much time has changed, times the velocity, get that chunk of it, and add it to the position. That way you get a nice smooth look. Then we clamp it, which I thought was interesting, to 0, 0, sorry, to, yeah, that's 0, 0, to the screen size, whatever that is. And position, since it's not a continual function, since it's not in some rigid body somewhere continually being added to, it will just change position. There's no other thing about it, so, which is okay for this, what we're doing now. And this might be, I might change the player later to where it does collide it with something, or to another player. Yeah, because I'm noticing right now this is not going to work, because if I want to hit another, say if I turn a creeper into a cat and I hit another cat, well, I want the cat to move around. So, another player to move around, so I'll have to change that later. But for now, this will do for now. Just to get a framework and a better understanding how the Godot 2D works. We also set up a connection to a signal for the on-bodied entered. So we connect to the Area 2D and connect to its signal on-bodied entered. And we could add here eventually, like groups. See here, manage group. We can go in here and say, hey, if body dot is, what's the group function? Is in group. We can say, hey, is it in enemy? And like that, and you can go in here and if it's part of the group, then called hit.emit, but we would have to go back over here to mob and actually add that one to the group. And remove the player from the group, because I'm not worried about that. So if it hits anything that's part of the group, and it comes in and it says, hey, Izzy, are you part of this group or not? Do you have that group tag? If it does, emits it. So if I put a rock in, if it hits a rock with a glider, it doesn't just disappear. All right, moving forward. Then we also have the mob, which is pretty straightforward. I'm not sure how I feel about letting the main take control of how the mob moves. I'm not sure I'm a fan of that. I don't mind the idea of passing in the velocity, which way it should run. I like the idea of passing in this mob location to it and then letting the mob decide what direction it goes. So let's do that. Let's move a good chunk of this code over to the mob and let it handle what direction it goes instead of let the main gameplay controller control that. So yeah, let's do that. So let's see here, child node 100 velocity. Okay. Before we do that, so we're looking at also when the mob is ready, the type of mob it is, like if it's a fish or if it's a bird or whatever. I thought that was interesting. They used the animation names as the way to say, hey, this is the type you are. There's no like hard and fast way of doing that, but I thought that was interesting. I'm not going to do that though later on. Func select direction, and I need a mob path. What kind of thing is it again? I keep forgetting. Go back over here. Up here, we'll just change it to mob spawn location. There we go. Cool. There we go. What's your problem? Well, we're going to get the name of that thing. Path follow 2D. That's what I'm looking for. I don't know why I thought that. Path. There we go. There we go. It's not a small spawn, not a mob spawn location. It is a path follow 2D. There is a path 2D, then a path follow. Oh, my table's rocky. Okay, so now mob dot select direction. Okay, so I'm gonna do as mob. Instantiate as mob. We'll see. I never tried casting it as a straight as after you instantiate it. So, but cool. See if it still works. There we go. Just took a moment. Cool beans. Whoop, whoop, whoop. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and remove that. I'm not sure if that's messing me up or not. You can go away. I don't need you. There we go. I think that was it. Okay. moving forward. Now we got that sorted out. Now we're getting into the UI. It's currently a, let's see here. I'm going to create a new scene. And create a new scene. Wait, file, new scene. There we go. Click on the node. I'm going to do canvas layer. I'm going to name it HUD, which is good. And so our heads-up display. And we're going to go ahead and all right. Jay here adds our UI, score timer. Okay, so we need to add a couple labels, a button, and a timer. So oops. And a timer. Oh, we have a timer. We've got a bunch of timers everywhere. Alright, we call this the score label. The message start button. Message timer. Okay, interesting. Click on the score label. I'm just getting a little tired, so I might have to end up quitting here in a bit, but that's okay. Alright, click on score label. I'm going to see here. Theme overrides. Cool. And fonts. I'm going to click load. Okay. So, and the Godot tutorial package, you go to the, click on the UI subject, go to the theme override and select that, then fonts, then the drop down, hit load, and select your font. Okay, cool. All right. Alright, so according to the tutorial here, it said the font size is too small, so we have to increase the size, which is fine. So let's put some text in here if we can find a place to put text. There we go. We'll put 0 in. Oops. There we go. And we want the anchor center. Okay. 0. The center. We want it centered. Center. Print center top. We want it up there. Cool. Add the dodge the creeps text to message. All right, set the vertical to center. Oh, you know what? Center, center. Okay, at the okay, we'll go back up here. Center tab for that one. Okay, add the text dodge to creeps. See horizontal alignment, vertical alignment to center. Set auto wrap mode to word. Word. Okay. Under control layout, set size X to 480. Theme override. Font. Load. There we go. Okay. Anchor preset is center. Cool. And now we got the start button. So we go to the start button. Let's go ahead and add the font. Oop, that's not font. That is font. And we're going to put that towards the center bottom, I'm guessing. Okay. Under control, layout, transform, layout, transform. We want to put size at 200. And anchor preset, center bottom, under control, layout, transform, set Y position to 580. Okay, 580. Oops, wrong one. That's going to be off the screen. I'm going to move it up because I added those fun text to it. That way it's not off the screen. There we go. Problem solved. Okay, on the message timer, set the wait time to 2. And one shot. On. Now we can add a script to the HUD. Okay. Cool. All right, I think that's a good stopping point for now. Before we get into the code again. Yeah, I'll call that stop for now. I'm getting a little tired. I'm already being cringy enough doing my first live stream, so let's not push it too hard. So my plan is to continue on with this tutorial, but next stream, this stream will be unlisted, but I will reformat it to a better tutorial format, so it's not all. That's my hopes, anyways. And next stream, I hope to finish up the tutorial and get started on the cats, to convert it to the whole cat fighting game. Cat curtains, that was it. Yeah. All right, thank you very much, everyone, for watching. I appreciate you checking out my video. And if you have any comments to help me improve, please do. Or any words of encouragement, I'll take those as well. Yeah, leave a like or a comment, subscribe. I appreciate it. All right, y'all have a good one.